clients are the same in that they say, I'm tired of doing this by myself. I need help. We do an assessment. We figure out where their numbers are right now, and then we set goals, and then we figure out how to get there.
Welcome to the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. Not only are we interviewing the biggest names in business to help you become even more successful, we're inviting you to book your spot on the show to help you grow your business. So at the end of the call, make sure you fill in the interview application form at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. Hello, and welcome back to the show. This is the My Future Business Show, where we get you in front of your best audience and keep you there. My name's Rick Nuske. I'm your host. I'm also the luckiest person on the planet, I would have to say, because I'm on the line with the wonderful Christina Gamache. Welcome to the show, Christina.
Hey, thanks so much for having me on, Rick. I'm a huge fan, and I'm just thrilled with the work that you're doing with this podcast.
I really appreciate that. Thank you so very much. It always makes a bit of a difference for me knowing that it's making a difference for you. So thank you again for that. Now, you and I, we're going to be talking a lot about various different topics, but you're an author, you're a keynote speaker, you're a fractional CFO, a financial planner, wealth advisor, and you're also the founder of Audax Wealth Management. You and I are going to spend some time talking about business and personal financial planning and investment management strategies. So there's certainly a lot to unpack in the time that we have available to us. So let's start from the start. Where are you calling in from today?
Oh, yeah. I am in Anchorage, Alaska today. So it's a beautiful sunny day, I think in the 70s maybe.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been here about 7 years total.
Right.
I wasn't born and raised here, but we just love it so much. It's a very special place.
What do you love about it most? Do you have any hobbies? You like walking? You have pets, all that sort of thing?
Yeah. Well, unless you count my kids and my husband as a pet. We love hiking. I just say being around the mountains and the water, that's kind of my happy place and what fills my bucket. And, why not live where you vacation, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So do you get much time to do things of your own, like, pastime?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. My day job is being the owner of Audax Wealth Management. My night job is shuttling the kids around. We do get out in the summer. Summers are really busy. As they say in Alaska, if you are not tired by the time the winter comes, then you didn't do summer right.
You didn't do it properly. What do you think would be a landmark that people would be familiar with in your location?
Landmark?
Somewhere special that most people would know.
That most people would know down here. I mean, there's, the Captain Cook Hotel downtown. That's a really old hotel.
Beautiful.
Maybe not my favorite one to stay at, but a lot of people know that one. As far as landmark, it's land. I mean, we've got the mountains here, right? People go down to Seward. They go up to Denali National Park. So a lot of landmarks.
There's not one particular place. Now, tell me a little bit about do you enjoy movies? Do you enjoy going out? Are you a bit of a foodie? Tell us a little bit about that side of your life.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I mean, I do like spicy foods.
Oh, very good.
So I like it where I'm crying and sweating.
Oh, yes,
and
me too.
So I do like spicy food. And yeah, movies are good. They keep us busy in the winter time when it's too cold for me to go out. I'm kind of a fair weather everything. I'll go out in the rain, but I won't enjoy it. I'll go out in negative temperatures, but I won't really enjoy it. So but mostly just hiking, fishing.
Yes, beautiful.
A lot of salmon fishing. Just went last weekend and only unfortunately got 4 salmon, which I was very upset about.
Oh no, next time you have to pick up your game.
Yeah.
Well, look, I love talking about the people behind the businesses because we know, I guess, from a fundamental level that the businesses don't change, but the people do. So I really do appreciate you opening up and sharing a little bit about your story with us. Now, speaking of stories, I was looking through your Instagram feed. There's so much to take in there. I absolutely love looking through that. Do you enjoy Instagram? Do you still use it a lot?
I do not enjoy Instagram. It's one of those, necessary evils, social media.
We all have them.
I know. I closed down Instagram last year and then reopened it this year because I hired a new social media manager.
Oh.
And so she does all of that for me. And she just says, hey, upload something. And so I upload the video or the picture, and then she does everything else, which I am so thankful for because, my generation, we didn't grow up really with social media.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, it's a different beast, but I understand and I recognize that trend being very important for business owners.
Well, it's interesting you talk about trends, because I know that you do a lot of work and observing women-owned businesses trends. So I'd love to talk about that in a moment. But earlier on, you talked about pets. Did you mention that you had a dog?
We used to have a dog. Her name was Dottie. Unfortunately, she's no longer with us.
Oh.
But I know, it's so sad. Part of our heart is missing, but, there might be another furry family member in the near future.
Very good to hear. Absolutely love to hear that. Now, as a busy businesswoman, what's a daily routine look like for you? Do you get up early? Do you enjoy beating the sun up?
Yeah, well, in Alaska, we have sun a lot in the summertime.
Yes.
But yeah, so my days start early. The markets open pretty early here on the West Coast. And so I get up and check the news, check the email, figure out if there are any strategic trades that need to be placed in my clients' accounts. And then I wait for the kids to get up, right? Being a working mom, I kind of designed my day around them, which is, I'm very blessed to be able to do that. And so I get them off to school or activity or whatever it is, then come back and really start my meetings at that point. Because before then, I'm no good to anyone and can't really communicate any of my thoughts before my cup of coffee.
No, glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, it's just a lot of meet and greet. It's a lot of talking, a lot of figuring out clients' financial plans and going over their P&Ls and doing all of these other meetings, whether it's in Zoom or now, thankfully, back in person. And, sometimes my day doesn't really end like most people, but I take a lot of breaks in between because of the kids. But that's okay. And so that's a typical day is not typical.
Thank you very much for sharing. I'm really loving this call. Now, I think for context, it's important, Christine, if we learn a little bit about your professional background and your educational background. Would you mind sharing with us?
Right. So education-wise, I went to school at University of California at Irvine for my undergrad way back in the day. My mom told me I was going to be a doctor. And my organic chemistry teacher said no.
No, not today.
I tried several times. Didn't happen. That's okay. Then I went on to the University of Florida and I got a master's in entrepreneurship. And that's where I fell in love with business owners and business ownership. It was just something magical about that. And professional wise, I've been in the financial services industry since 2000, really. I started at a little company called Balboa Capital in Orange County, California. Got exposed to that side of the business. And from there, I said, I just want to learn everything there is to know about this whole money thing because I didn't grow up learning about it. I didn't know what it was. I thought it was a bad thing. I thought money was bad. And then I thought, well, maybe money's good. And I made every mistake under the sun that any young adult can make with money.
You did it.
I made it.
Yeah. Absolutely love it.
Yeah. So then I jumped around a lot. My husband's in the military, so we moved around quite a bit. And I was always in financial services, which is wonderful. And then in 2020, as we know what happened then, in my world, I had what I call my Jerry Maguire freak out moment where I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And it was a culmination of a lot of things, but I'll say I'll say this. I looked around, and here in Alaska, we have our big boxes, right? We've got Costco and Target and Petco and all those big things. But
Mm-hmm.
most of the businesses here are mom and pop shops. And I realized that all of the big financial institutions out there were not helping these people. They were helping all of the big corporations.
Oh.
And so if you, let's move, like go back to the PPP loans, for example. The
Mm-hmm.
first round of PPP loans, a lot of them went to the big corporations. These big corporations, one, had all the capital reserves that they probably needed to withstand a few months of lockdown. Two, they had a great team of advisors. They had accountants and attorneys and staff, and they had all of these
Structure.
resources. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened to these mom and pop businesses, the small businesses that were not able to withstand a lockdown for a month or two or three, they were the ones that went out of business. I mean, we all know stories about this, right? Just driving down the road and like, hey, there used to be a sign there. It's gone.
It's gone.
Right? And I realized they're the ones that need the help the most. If you look at statistics across the United States, the big companies don't employ most of America. It's the small and medium-sized businesses that create the most jobs. So back up a little bit, right? So they create the most jobs. They're the ones going out of business. What's going on? This is not okay in my book. So I left my cushy corporate career in financial services and I started Audax Wealth Management. And here I am today talking with you, Rick.
Yeah, wow. It takes a bit of gusto to make that decision to leave a corporate role where you've had that relative, let's call it, sense of security. Tell me about risk and how you dealt with this and how you felt going through that transition, because I know there's a lot of startup entrepreneurs who'd love to hear.
Yeah, it is scary as all get up. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, right?
No.
There was a lot of anticipation, a lot of excitement building up. I remember the day that I got approved as a registered investment advisor, and I cried happy tears. Oh, this is great! I'm so excited. And then it's just like, why does it go? So I'm just so afraid. What have I done?
Reality sets in.
Reality sets in, and the first month, or actually the first year, I'd say, was really difficult. It was a lot of getting the word out to people. Some people, surprisingly, were not very supportive of my decision. People that I had really good relationships with, and I don't know if it was because of just the climate at that time or what, but a lot of them told me that I was making a mistake. And then I had other people that said, oh, thank God you're not with them anymore. Now you can, you can help me with my money. I thought that's interesting too. I was surprised by the reactions that I heard, both good and bad. But here I am, still standing, right?
And absolutely
still growing.
So you had a spectrum of responses, which is to be expected. Now, tell us a little bit about, I guess, the forging of relationships and the value of trust in your business, because I would have thought from that time forward, Christina, that would have been at the forefront of your mind with every person you spoke with.
Oh, 100%. 100%. It is hard to build relationships on Zoom.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
But I don't know how I did it. I just did it because that was the only thing that I could do was meet on Zoom. I remember my first Zoom meeting, I was just so nervous. I was shaking. I was like, oh my gosh, the light is not good. I was a mess. I never used it before, right? And I admit, there are still times when I'm looking for the button and I don't know exactly what I'm doing.
Oh, yeah, ditto.
That's okay. But yeah, building that trust, it takes time. It does take a lot of time. And I would say that's true in person too, right?
Yep.
So whether it's in person or virtual or what have you, it's just investing into those relationships, really showing that you care about that person on the other end, either across the table from you or on the camera,
Mm-hmm.
and asking questions and listening and not talking so much, right? A lot of times people, me included, we get on our soapbox and I could talk for days, right? But,
Try and
but
stop me.
right, it's learning how to shut up
Active listening,
and
as they
ask.
call it.
Yeah.
So tell me something. I had an interesting thought, Christina. With Zoom, did you find that your reach was extended, and does it impact the way you run your business in that regard?
Yes, absolutely. I have clients in New York and Kentucky and Texas and California, and I never would have thought that would have been possible. But here I am
Here you are.
with a very large geographic reach, and it is thanks to technology. And I do say that technology can be a wonderful addition to any business,
Mm.
small or large. You just really have to, one, do your due diligence on it, but two, just use it to your advantage. If you have a subscription for some kind of software that isn't really helping you at all
Mm-hmm.
and there's no ROI, then you should get rid of it.
Get rid of it.
But yeah, yeah. And that's true of any expense in a business, right?
Tell me about the legal aspects and the nuances between states. Are there many, given that you're going essentially from east to west coast and everywhere in between?
Right. So there are two types of, I guess you could say, like financial advisors. So
Mm-hmm.
there's the type of financial advisor that is linked to investments or some kind of product like
Mm-hmm.
insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are others who maybe are just kind of like coaches, right? And the coaches don't really need to be registered with the state or anything like that. They have very far fewer rules, let's just say, to
Yeah.
follow.
Yeah.
Um, the other ones that are going to give recommendation as far as, what you can invest in and what you should have in your portfolios, those all have to be registered with the state that they reside in. And then if they have 5 or more clients in another state, then they need to be registered in those states as well. So that's up to a certain limit.
Yeah.
Once you surpass that limit, then they have to be registered with the SEC, and that's a whole different ball
Ball
game.
game.
A
Yeah.
lot more eyes being put on your business too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I spent a lot of time, as I spoke with you earlier, about just doing my research, learning a bit more about the business. And one of the things that really stood out for me is the way you manage to avoid conflicts of interest. Tell us a little bit about how important that is and how that works.
So important, so important. I firmly believe that if I recommend something for a client, that it is 100% in their best interest. So I gave up, for example, my insurance license. I used to be able to sell annuities or whole life or term or anything else, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I always thought it was kind of funny that financial advisors could do a financial plan for their client and then say, oh, by the
It'll
way,
cost you
you need
this.
insurance. And by
Mm-hmm.
the way, I can sell it to you.
Funny that.
Right. And get paid a lot of money. And so I find these clients that I call them band-aids. They have insurance band-aids all over the place and they don't make sense. But when I look kind of underneath the hood, all of a sudden I find like, oh, hey, they knew this person over there or that person over there, and they just got sold all these different types of policies, and it doesn't make sense
No,
um, unless you look at it from
their
the
perspective.
standpoint. Yeah.
And they get a lot of trail for that, don't they?
Right,
And that's
right,
the thing about it.
right. So if I say, hey, I think you need to go see Rick, it's because I know Rick, I like him, I trust him, and I believe in him, not because Rick's going to give me a referral fee or pay me back some other way.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really believe in that product or service.
Yeah, fantastic, and I love that credibility factor because I think that makes the difference in a world that sometimes struggles to find trust and truth. Tell me a little bit about the name Audax. Where did that come from?
Ah, Yes, Audax is a cycling event that has to be completed within a certain amount of time.
Oh.
And our family is big on bicycles. So if you go to our garage, it looks like a bicycle shop. So all types of bicycles. And so I thought, that's a really great, I guess, analogy for life, right? And especially if you're a business owner, you've got this business that you're running and it has to be completed within a certain amount of time,
It makes sense.
right? We don't have all the years to complete our race, so to speak, right?
It's
And
happening now.
so
It's not a
actually
dress
my
rehearsal.
husband's idea.
Oh,
Sorry?
it's life is not a dress rehearsal. We've only got what we've got. The
Yeah,
curtains are open.
I like that. Yes, exactly.
Now, tell us a little bit about your work as an advisor on boards. Are you still doing that?
Yes. Oh, I am a big believer that if we are blessed, we need to give back. And the way that I've been able to do that here in Alaska and on other boards across the US is, really bringing my expertise to these nonprofits that have needs and they need expertise. They need guidance in order to grow or solve a problem or what have you. So I work on a few boards right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Yep.
I'm trying to say no more just because my plate is so full and I really want to dedicate that time and energy that I think every nonprofit deserves.
Absolutely.
So yeah,
Look,
that's where my heart is.
there's one thing I love about you is your vibrancy. I've seen your speaker notes, of which I'd love to talk about in a moment. This huge smile, not just a half a smile. We're talking a huge smile. Now, I'm pretty sure that flows through into the way that you work with your clients. But sometimes when you meet new people, they probably don't have as much, I guess, education about some of the terms that you use. And I have to admit, I get a little bit caught up with it as well. And wondering if we could just spend a few moments learning about the terminology. For example, fiduciary. Have I said it right?
Fiduciary, yeah.
Fiduciary. There you go. I tried.
Right. Oh, so that's a good example because I just did a talk and someone said in my title, I had the word metric.
Right.
And to me, I thought, well, I really try to take the jargon out, but I guess metric could be a jargon type of word also, right? But, I'm big on education.
Mm-hmm.
I try and teach as much as possible. I really just I want to download my brain and give it to my clients, right? And say, this is what you need. You're not passionate about this, but this is what you need to know in order to run your business. A fiduciary is someone who really takes care of a client's money, right? And it doesn't have to be money, right? We could all be stewards, so to speak, of other resources that we have in our lives, right? But in the financial world, a fiduciary is someone who really has the client's best interest at the front of everything that they do.
Fantastic. Thank you for making that very clear. Now, in terms of fractional CFO, is that where you step into an organization part-time? How does that work?
Yeah, so I started to realize that my business owner clients have a passion. They started their business for a reason. Either, they had a great idea that wanted to change the world. They wanted to be in charge of their own schedule or what have you, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they weren't managing their resources financially very well, and they didn't know what to do about it. A lot of times they relied on bookkeepers or CPAs, which is not a bad thing, but I've had some clients that have been the victims of fraud and embezzlement, and that's not ever a good thing.
No.
So what happened was I started teaching them. And as an investment advisor, I use a lot of tools and a lot of metrics, right? A lot of financial ratios and all these other things to determine, what stock should you buy, Rick? What stock should we put in your portfolio? And I use all these things, right?
Yep.
Well, my goal is to have my business owner clients sell their business at the end of the day. One day they're going to retire, and I don't want them to have a garage sale. I want them to actually go and sell their business. If I'm a buyer of said business, then I'm going to be using all the same types of financial metrics and ratios and information that an analyst would be using.
Yep.
Okay. It's the same thing, just a different lens. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that information is also the same information that the business owner should be paying attention to on a weekly, monthly, and quarterly basis. But people don't know this. If they're a small business owner, they don't have that advisory board. They don't have that panel of people they can go to and say, hey, teach me about my P&L.
Yes.
Or teach me about my profit margin, right?
And it goes beyond that, doesn't it? Because you've talked about being there and educating, but one of the words that comes into mind is accountability. Are you there for that as well, to keep them on track and say, hey, listen, I'm going to poke the bear a bit here. We need to stay on track.
Yes. So I kind of joke sometimes and say, I'm like that fitness coach that calls you at 5 a.m. and says, I'm going to meet you at the gym, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to make you do burpees, and you're going to hate me, but you're going to love me. It's kind of the same thing with the financial information. So I'm going to make them go and do homework. I actually call it homework, right? And I say, you're not going to like me for this. For example, one exercise we do quite often is an expense analysis. So you're not going to like me for this exercise. You're going to curse my name a lot, but I'm going to increase your profit margin overnight. This is how we're going to do it, right? So it's going to be good for you. I promise. Just trust the process.
Now, I know there's obviously a website behind the business that you run, and I've obviously perused it at some length. Now, I'd love to, if we could, just, if we can at all, try to condense it down and talk about, I guess, are there 3 to 4 main different services that you provide? Could you explain it?
Yeah, sure. So I would say about, let's say, 3 different categories. The first one is my financial foundations course. And again, this is a lot of the education. We do a lot of cleanup. We get the right people on board. We make sure there's a good accountant and a good CPA, and there's good people that are in the client's business. Okay. We put the processes in place so that if I were to leave, hopefully one day I don't have to be there, right?
Yep.
But if I were to step back, that it's running smoothly. Okay, that's number 1. And number 2 is a full-scale financial plan. And that is, getting the client from where they are right now to where they want to be in the future, and figuring out what that bridge is. So for a lot of business owners, they are very complicated people. There are a lot of moving parts.
Oh, yeah.
And if you say, hey, I want to retire next year, I mean, you can do that, but are you going to be comfortable retiring next year? How is your business going to fit into all of this? So that's number 2. And then number 3, I'd say, is more of a daily integration, where I'm either helping with the investment part, or I'm helping with the part-time CFO, where basically I just whisper in their ears. They say, hey, Christina, tell me about this. I've got a meeting with the banker later this week. What do I need to know, right? And I just tell them what they need to know. We look at all the KPIs. We look at all the spreadsheets. We just have this accountability, like you were saying, Rick, where I keep them on track for their goals.
See, people are living on a continuum, and you have to meet them where they are with their financial situation right now. So how do you do that? Is it a conversation? Do you have a plan? Do you document everything? What's the onboarding process look like?
Oh, good question. So the onboarding process, it is very much of, we figure out where they are. I will say that most of my clients, when they come to me, have a mess.
Otherwise they wouldn't need you.
Sometimes it's an actual shoebox.
Oh, literally.
Literally. I haven't opened this mail in a year. I think my taxes are in there somewhere.
Oh, goodness me.
Sometimes it is a virtual shoebox, right? Everything is here, there. We kind of just get it all cleaned up. So clients are the same in that they say, I'm tired of doing this by myself. I need help. We do an assessment. We figure out where their numbers are right now, and then we set goals, and then we figure out how to get there. So for example, if you came to me and said, hey, my profit margin is at 1%, I'm told that I need maybe 15%. I don't know, right? So let's make a goal for, I don't know, let's try 5% first before we go to the 15.
Pieces.
And what does that mean? And we back it up a lot and say, all right, so does that mean you need to increase your prices, or does that mean you need more clients, or does that mean you need to reduce some of your staff or some of your expenses? What does that mean, right? It kind of filters into everything that we do. So after the assessment, we figure out what it is the client is really needing. What's their biggest pain point right now? How can we fix that before we go and fix everything else?
So if you were to write a book today, what do you think the pressing issues are that you would write about in that book?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for that question.
Pandora's box.
So I am writing a book.
Fantastic.
It is coming out next year. And I don't know what the title of it is going to be yet, but it's going to be something about how to scale your business as a business owner, and then how to sell it, and how to do that in a smart way, where you can accomplish everything that you want. Because I do believe you can have your cake and eat it too. And then I'm going to sprinkle in there a lot of these challenges that women, especially women business owners, face in today's day and age, like being the sandwich generation, having to take time off from our careers, how we are starting businesses at a faster rate than a lot of men, but we won't get to over $1 million in revenue statistically. So what does that all mean financially when we're at the end of our lives and have to take care of ourselves because we've either been divorced or widowed or never married? So what does that mean?
I look at this and I think to myself, I wish that I could unravel 2 decades of my own life and start to plan back then. How early do you think we should be starting? Should we be teaching what you know in high school maybe?
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, I teach my kids, and they're in elementary school. We start with a lemonade stand, right?
Yep.
And balancing a checkbook. I know it's a virtual checkbook now.
Yeah.
No, but balancing the checkbook. And if we knew how to balance a checkbook at a young age, what does that mean if we run for office one day?
Yes.
Are we going to be able to know how to balance a budget for a city or for a state or a country? I don't know. Right?
Yep.
But yeah, I think that the financial literacy starts at an early age, and kids learn from what they see.
They absorb it, don't they?
Oh,
like sponges, yes.
Yeah.
Now, tell me a little bit about, sorry, I interrupted you there. Now, tell me a little bit about your keynote speaking events. Are you doing any more of those at the moment?
Yes. Oh my gosh. I've capped it to 3 a month, Rick. It's a lot, but yes, I love to go out and I preach, right? Someone a long time ago told me that, hey, my business really took off once I became a preacher, right? And I put that in air quotes. But what that means is once you have that message and you go out and you tell the world what it is that you do, why you do it, your business takes off because people are attracted to that, right? People want that. People want to be part of whatever it is that you are so passionate about. And so, yeah, I started keynote speaking because I wanted to grow my business. And now I do it because I'm passionate about helping as many people as possible.
That's amazing feedback. I've absolutely loved the journey that I've been able to spend with you today on the show. I really appreciate it. Now, at the pointy end of the call already, time flies when you're having fun. I'm wondering if people want to connect with you directly on any sort of social platform or maybe via your website, where are they going to go?
Right. So audaxwealth.com, AUDAX wealth.com. That's also my social media handle on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn.
There you go. Wrapped up nicely with a bow there. Thank you so very much, Christina. Very much love this call. And if you're on the call today and you want to get access, just look below this post or wherever you find this interview. You're most certainly going to find the link back to audaxwealth.com. And with all that being said, Christina, thank you so very much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you, Rick, for having me. I appreciate you so much.
Thanks for joining us today. If you enjoyed the call, then make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, share us with your friends, and book your spot on the show at myfuturebusiness.com/interviews. And if you're looking for solutions that will help grow your business, then visit myfuturebusiness.com/shop.